Hi, this is Mr. H, and this is a review of section 1-1, and we will also go over some of the homework together. Okay, so today in class we learned how to combine like terms. Like terms are numbers in your equation or your expression that have the same coefficient. Like, for example, if I have 9 and x together, 9 is my variable, x is my variable, 9 is my coefficient. I like to think of him as the last name. The x is the last name. So I'm looking for anyone else who has a last name of x. Over here I have a negative x. You could also think of it as negative 1x because there's only 1 there. So I have 9 x's here and only 1 x here. Okay? They're all on the same side because this expression is just an expression. There's not anything else. So I can just combine these guys straight away. My negative 1x combines with my positive 9x, and I do subtraction because the signs are opposite. 9 minus 1 is 8. So I get 8x. So that's half of this expression. The other half is my numbers that don't have any variable. I call them the no-name numbers. You combine those. I have a positive 10 and a negative 3. 10 minus 3 is 7. So I end up with positive 7. So I combine my like terms, and now this is simplified to 8x plus 7. All right? We also learned about the distributive property. When you have a number right beside some parentheses with no plus or minus sign or anything in between, it's being multiplied, not just to the x, but to everything in those parentheses. So I do 2 multiplication problems. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. I can't combine these terms because they're not like terms. He doesn't have an x, so this is my simplified expression. Thirdly, we jumped into inverse operations. We talked about opposites. Math opposites are adding and subtracting are opposites, and multiplying and dividing are opposites. And it requires the use of opposite math to solve equations. We also talked about PEMDAS, but actually using PEMDAS backwards when you are solving equations. When I'm solving an equation, I actually take a look at what's happening, and instead of looking for like parentheses and multiplying and stuff first, I look for adding and things first. I find out what's happening first, and I do the opposite math and move it across. I'll give you a quick example. Let me put this here like this. Okay, so let's say I have 2x plus 3 equals 11. Okay, so I need to get x by himself. To solve this equation, I need to isolate this variable. So what I do is I do PEMDAS backwards. I have 2 things happening: multiplying by 2 and adding by 3. Doing PEMDAS backwards, I look for my add subtract stuff. This is adding. And now to get rid of him, I do opposite of adding, and that's subtracting. So I can think of my equal sign as a wall, and I can think of x as somebody that wants to kick everyone else over to the other side, and he starts with whatever's added or subtracted. So the opposite of adding 3, subtracting 3. I do that on both sides. He's gone. 3 minus 3 is 0. 11 minus 3 is 8. So when I did that first step, my new equation is just 2x now on the left equals 8 on the right. Okay, now what's left? I'm multiplying by 2. So I'm going backwards with my PEMDAS. I'm to this step. Happens to be my last step. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I divide both sides by 2. I want to note that a fraction bar in algebra, it's just division. Okay, this means division. So 2 divided by 2 goes to 1, or just 1x, or x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So x equals 4. Okay, let's jump into some homework. So here's your homework, and let's do some of this together. So these first 3, these are equations. You need to solve them. And this is something you could do InSolve with, but I want you to start getting familiar with doing the opposite steps, the inverse operations also. Because there will be many, many times when you will not be able to use your, figure it out what they're asking just using your calculator. So let's start by doing the middle one. We'll do number 3. So I have 25 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have 7 plus 3k minus 12. There's no combining of like terms over here. But over here, I do have some like terms I can combine. I can combine the 7 with the negative 12. They're opposite signs, so I subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. And I have more negatives, so it's going to be negative 5. So I end up with 3k minus 5. That's my simplified version of this. On the right-hand side, nothing changed. Okay, my next step is the k wants to be by himself. I need to start using inverse operations to get rid of stuff. PEMDAS backwards. So I want to look for any adding or subtracting going on. You're subtracting by 5. The opposite math is adding by 5 on both sides. That cancels to 0. Over here, 25 plus 5 is 30. All right? Over here, I have 3k. That means 3 times k. That's the next step here. Okay, the opposite of multiply, as we said, it's division right here. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. K is now by himself. And over here, I have 30 divided by 3. That gives me 10. So I have 10 equals k, or you could flip it around. If you like the letter on the left, k equals 10. All right? The next section, I just want to point out that you don't have to come up with the equation. I gave you the equation. It's right here. So read this and try to figure out how I got how this equation came to be out of this word problem, but then just use the equation to solve it. You can combine these terms here and do your inverse operations to get p by itself. All right, next section, let's do number 18. We have negative 3 equals negative 3 times the quantity of 2t minus 1. I say quantity because you're multiplying this by everything. So there's nothing to do on the left side. I can ignore it. But I use the distributive property over here. Negative 3 times 2t is negative 6t. Negative 3 times negative 1, integer rules make that a positive 3. Okay? All right, and now I'm done distributing. There's nothing else I can do over there. So now I'll rewrite the rest of the problem. Okay, remember my goal is to get t by itself. I need to kick out the negative 6 and the 3. This is multiply, this is add. What do I do first? I look at PEMDAS backwards. I take care of the adding number and move him away by opposite math. So now it's subtract 3 on both sides. He cancels. I have a negative 3 to negative 3. That's like adding 3 bad guys with 3 more bad guys. I actually add those together to get a bigger negative number, negative 6. Okay? And what do I have left? Negative 6t is what's left. This is multiply. The opposite math is divide. Cancel. T is by itself. Negative 6 divided by itself is positive 1. So t is equal to 1. All right? I want you to take a close look at this and go ahead and solve that on your own. Okay? Set up the equation. It's very, very similar to the one we did in class in the notes with the oil change. Okay? Take a look at that, and this is similar. On the back, we have some that are the same rules, same steps, but you're dealing with fractions or decimals. Okay? Not a big deal. Use your calculator. Okay? The opposite math here would be opposite of minus 5/8 would be you move them over, and now you're adding 5/8. So over here you have 7/8 plus 5/8. You could just add those numerators because you have the common denominator, or do it in your calculator and then solve from there. Okay? And these as well. Do those in the calculator. All right. I mean, you could end solve this, but I'd like for you to show these steps. Show the movement of the numbers as well. Here, write a brief sentence or two showing me what your first step would be. You don't have to solve it, just show me your first step. And this is what I told you about. You will have some where I give you the answer. So big deal, you can end solve. I want you to show me the work. There's no need to end solve, I already gave you the answer. Show me the work that gets to the answer. All right, that's it for now. Have a great day.